Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unleash Her. Hey, I'm Roberta, and I'm so glad that you guys are here today. I'm so super stoked. I have a very special guest, and I cannot wait to introduce her. I met this amazing woman in Naples, Florida. What, a
Year and a
year
half
ago, I
ago.
believe. Yes. Okay. And so, what a privilege and honor it is to introduce everyone to my friend, Miss Kendra Petty. Hi, Kendra.
Hey, Roberta, thanks so much for having me. I'm very honored.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And so I want you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, but I want everyone to know that we went with the same publishing company. So we ended up in Naples, Florida when we were launching our books. And your book tells a lot about your life. And your book is titled I Can't Believe I'm Not Dead. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I can't believe I'm not dead, but you're right. That is the title of my memoir. And it is the story of my life. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. Uh, and I was born into and raised in a very religious environment. When in sixth grade, my mother and stepfather started an extreme religious church that morphed into an extreme cult. So I was raised in Oklahoma in a bubble of disinformation, not allowed to associate with anybody from outside the cult, not allowed to watch TV, listen to the radio. We went to a Christian school because that's the closest thing that my mother could find for us. Our life was all Bible, all God, all the time. So we grew up in a little bubble. But I also, my mother was very oppressive, very controlling and domineering. She was extremely physically abusive. She'd be in prison today for the things she did back then. She was also very mentally, emotionally, and verbally abusive. And I managed to escape the cult and my mother after I graduated high school. And I'll talk a little bit more about how I left and where I moved to, and how I really created a life of thriving, even though for so long I was just a survivor. I was just in survival mode through so much trauma and tragedy through my whole life, childhood and adulthood. And how really 6 years ago or so, I hit a wall and turned a corner and said, enough is enough is enough. And I started focusing on healing my mind, my soul, my heart, and it's been a real journey for me. And so I wrote the book so that I could share my path to healing and to thriving with other people.
Wow. First of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through all that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a lot for someone to go through. I can't imagine. I'm sure everyone else is imagining, thinking the same thing right now. And yeah, I, you know, I think that, and I'm sure you realize too, because you are a very successful person, and all of this helped you step into this person that you are today. And let me ask you this though, what was it 6 years ago that made you say, hold on, you know,
Um, I actually had gone through cancer. I developed cancer and I went through cancer treatments, a double mastectomy, chemotherapy, reconstruction, and chemotherapy just wrecked my body. And so I was really struggling physically. I was very sick all the time, in a lot of pain, exhausted constantly. And I felt horrible all the time. And yet I was still working and still building my career. And I was engaged to be married. And I ended up ending that engagement. And that's kind of when I said, enough is enough. Like there's so much more trauma that's in the book that I discuss that we haven't discussed here, but just a cycle of trauma and tragedy my whole life, childhood into adulthood, um, with the pinnacle being the cause of my cancer. Um, so I really just, I thought, I can't continue to live like this. I can't continue to live a life of fear, of anger. I needed to find peace and I needed to find joy. So it was when I left that relationship, I said, clean slate. I'm going to find how to heal myself. And I started reading and digging in and doing a lot of different modalities to help me heal from I had PTSD from so many traumatic events in my life. So working on healing my brain, my soul, my heart, and my body from being sick. So it's been a long process, but I'm 100% better than where I was 6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. You know, you're such a good inspiration. And I thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure that this book took you a while.
It did. It took a lifetime to live.
Hmm.
And then it took me 3 years with a ghostwriter to write it. When I originally hired her, I told her, I don't want to publish this. I just need my insane life down in writing. I need it memorialized for me, for my family. Maybe a few friends can read it. But I had no plans to publish it. Things that happened to me in my childhood that I had shame over or was too embarrassed for people to know. Things that happened in my adulthood that I just did not want people to know. And so we started the process, and she lived in New York City. She's a published author herself. She's ghostwritten a number of books that have been published. She also used to work for Simon and Schuster and Random House, so she really knows her stuff. And we started the process as we move along. She keeps pushing me to publish. She said, you have to share your story. This can help so many people. And I kept saying, absolutely not. It puts me in danger. The things that I share that I went through in my adulthood, even though I changed all the names of the guilty to protect the innocent, it just made me too vulnerable and could put me in danger. So I said, absolutely not. So we fight back and forth for 2 years as we're working on the book. Publish it, Kendra. I say, no, Jessica, I'm not publishing it. Finally, we get into the third year, and it has really taken shape. And she said, you can help so many people. You shouldn't keep this to yourself, because the last part of the book is about my path to healing. So I said, fine, I will think about it, and I really did. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I did decide, like, there has to be a reason why I'm not dead. I have escaped death on so many occasions, more than that is in that book. So I finally decided, maybe I'm still here to share my story. Maybe it will help some people. So I agreed to publish it with her as we rounded out the third year. She helped me find April O'Leary from O'Leary Publishing, who you also use. And I was
Yes.
able to meet you and some other wonderful authors.
Mhm.
And April dug in with her. She had 3 editors working on the book to get it done before Book Naples and to get it published. So it was a long process. It was about 3.5 years from start to getting it published.
Wow. And so that time was so healing for you too, just getting it all out.
It really was. I had no idea how healing it would be, but it was so cathartic. From something I went through in my childhood when I was 8, and my older brother was 10, and he was my best friend. He was killed in front of me, very grotesquely, very gruesome, very violent. Uh, and I immediately started having night terrors from 8 years old until just a couple of years ago. I would run out of my home or my hotel room in the middle of the night. I'd wake up in strange places, like horrible night terrors that somebody was trying to kill me. And I dealt with this for decades, and sometimes night after night, sometimes only every other week, but it was a constant battle. And when I started this healing process, and especially the book, and then now that I talk about my story, every time I talk about it, it's more healing. My night terrors have dissipated to probably 5% of what they used to be. So I am not 100% night
Mhm.
terror free, but I am 95% better. So the act of writing the book and talking to Jessica about, because I had never been to therapy for anything. So talking to Jessica for 3 years about what I've been through, and then her writing it, and then me reading it and editing it and rereading it and editing it. And now I've done TV, radio, podcasts, on stage. I've built a public speaking platform around my story, my healing process. So now I talk about it a lot, and it is so freeing. And I attribute that to my night terrors not happening hardly at all now. So it has been an incredible journey.
Wow. So besides sharing your story, were you going through, did you have a mentor or did you see a counselor during this time?
No, I've never had a mentor, and I've never really been to counseling. I've tried a few different counselors, for a few sessions, but it just is not for me. I do believe in therapy. A lot of people, it helps a lot of people. I think for me, though, growing up in this religious bubble, we weren't allowed to talk about really anything other than God. That's all we talked about was God and the Bible, heaven and hell. We weren't allowed to show emotion. My mother showed enough emotion for everyone, but we just didn't, we weren't a family that discussed things. And so I think for me, meeting with a therapist and trying to tell her all the insanity of my life, first of all, a lot of it is unbelievable, but
Mhm.
it's a lot to unload. It took us 3 years in writing the book. So I, I just never found for me that it was the method to help me heal.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so I started seeing a therapist after when probably about 6 years ago too, was when my big journey started. But it wasn't the right fit for me. And I don't know if it wasn't the right person, therapist or what it was, but you're right. It is good. It's a great thing and it's great for some people if that works for you.
Right.
Um, it yeah, it was difficult. I didn't realize that I had so many issues myself that had been tucked away.
Right.
I'd been swept under the carpet, I like to say. And so, yeah, but there were probably things that you were doing that maybe, do you journal? Well, you were writing a book at the time,
Mhm.
right? But how do
Mhm.
you change from, all of that? Because I know how programming works. I know how our minds are programmed.
Right. Right. And growing up in the environment that I grew up in, it was very programmed.
Mhm,
But when I was young, um, I played a lot of sports,
mm,
and that was sort of my outlet. Even though I was the scrawniest, littlest kid on the field, or on the court, but that gave me, that helped boost my self-esteem, because having a
mhm,
domineering mother who is very highly emotional and always angry and 911 every day, hair on fire, it really beats you down. And you lose confidence. My self-esteem was lower. So in playing sports, that helped me overcome fears. It helped me find what I was good at, and that I could excel. So I found the opportunities to excel. And so that really got me out of that environment to help me move forward. And then when I was 17, I did a mission in Haiti, in the West
mhm,
Indies. Haiti at the time was the poorest country in the world. It was going through civil war, because Baby Doc, they were trying to oust Baby Doc, which they did a year and a half later. So it was a pretty violent place and it was pretty crazy. But getting away from my mother and that home and the church and being on this mission with other people who were not in our church, they went to other kinds of churches. That really opened my eyes to, there are other worlds. There's a whole world out there, that I could stand on my own 2 feet, that I didn't need to be attached to my mother and that church and all her mental manipulation. So Haiti really opened my eyes, and I went back to Oklahoma, finished my senior year of high school, and then I moved to New York City. I went from one end of the spectrum, Oklahoma and religion, to completely the opposite end of the spectrum, to New York City, which it was incredible, but it was such an eye opener. There were things that and not being allowed to watch TV or listen to the radio or read newspapers or magazines or anything secular. We were totally sheltered. I don't know how any of us 4 kids made it in the real world, but we all did. So New York was a real eye opener for me. But that move just helped me build up my self-esteem and helped me build more confidence.
Yeah. So the trip to Haiti, that was your idea, your choice?
It was my best friend in high school. Actually, it was her idea. And so we started working together to raise money. We were both going to go. And then she backed out at the last minute. And I just decided I was still going to go, partly just to get away from my mother and the home life, and the very violent home life that I was living in. So,
Mhm.
but it was my idea, and it was incredible. It was an incredible trip.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine so. How long did you spend there or
3 months.
oh
3 months.
wow.
We slept in tents, did our laundry, and bathed in the river. We cooked over propane or fire. We had to build our own outhouse. It was pretty crazy. We were there to build a 3-room school building for the children of Valier. Valier is it's a village on top of a mountain there. It's about a 10-hour hike up into the mountains to get to Valier from the base of the mountain. It was
Wow.
pretty intense, but it was incredible. Gave me a lot of confidence to
Mhm.
be able to spread my wings.
Yeah, for sure. And from there you just took off.
I did. Well, I went back to Oklahoma for a year to finish college,
Ah,
but I and um I was given or won a 4-year full ride scholarship to a university in Oklahoma, which the university was in the town city that we lived in. But I couldn't stay in Oklahoma not one more minute. And so when I told my dad I was not going to go to this university and use the scholarship, he said, "Well, I'm not going to pay for your college then." And I said, "Well, you weren't paying for my college before." I said, "If I have to work 3 jobs to get myself through school, that's what I'll do." So I moved to New York. I worked for a year to establish my residency. And then I started school, and I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school, and left school with a lot of debt, like so many people do. But I
mhm.
continued to work 2 jobs, building my career, and then nighttime bartending and waiting tables to pay off my debt.
Wow. My goodness. You have done everything, I swear. Do you ever slow down
Not yet,
now?
not yet. I've got a long time, I think, before I slow down.
Oh my goodness. So so you started gaining your confidence then, and then you just never looked back, basically, would you say?
Well, I think for some people, a lack of confidence or low self-esteem it can be situational, or it can be something that you live with all the time. And I think it's oftentimes brought on by events that we go through. For me, it was my mother, who was just constantly dragging me down and beating me down, and the fact that I was small stature and everybody else was taller than me and bigger than me. Uh, Particularly in sports, is where it was resounding. So I think for me, living in that environment really just, it broke me down. It broke me down. It broke me down.
Yeah.
And so situationally, I had to find things, and not that I was consciously doing this, but there were things that I went through or did, like sports, like Haiti, like moving to New York, that helped build my confidence. But when I started building my career after I got out of college, that was a whole different ballgame for lack of self-esteem, low confidence. And I had to start all over in a whole new world of figuring out how to be successful, how to show up professionally and well spoken, and have
Mhm.
confidence in doing what I needed to do. And there was in my job, what I do is a lot of client interaction, a lot of public speaking, meeting with politicians of all levels in many, many cities, mayors. city council people, um, county commissioners, all levels of government. So I do a lot of presentations. All of that took a lot of work for me to, be comfortable in that environment. Um, just meeting with clients, for example, that was sort of the first part of my career. And having those conversations, knowing the questions to ask, looking them in the eye, being confident, um, making sure I ask the right questions so that we're aligned, and a lot of conversation. So that, even just starting there, and one of my first big breaks in my career was when I became general manager of San Antonio. And mind you, my industry is completely male dominated. Completely male dominated. When I joined, there was one or two female executives in the whole industry. And I was moved to San Antonio, and I would go to meetings, and back then we had to wear skirt suits. The women had to wear skirt suits and pantyhose and high heels. So I would show up professionally dressed to these meetings in San Antonio with these old cowboys, literally big cigars, short sleeve cowboy shirt, big belt buckle, jeans and boots. And they would lean back in their chair and they say, "Now, what does a little girl like you know about transportation? Or what does a little girl like you know about parking?" And I dealt with that for quite some time until I developed um, a reputation in town, and it was challenging. And that breaks you down a little bit more. So I fought through that, and then as I continued to move up, the public speaking part kicked in, and I do, and our group does a lot of presentations, a lot of presentations. Sometimes it's to a group of 40 or 50 people, sometimes it's to a group of 10 or 15 people. But it's, we're always getting up, and we have a slideshow, we take them through the slideshow, and a lot of times there's a microphone, I'm presenting to the entire city council or the entire county commissioner, or I'm doing presentations to the mayor and the mayor's office. And so that, in the beginning, was daunting for me. I hated it because I felt like, you know, all eyes on me, and it would just make me so nervous. And the more I did it, the better I got at it, and the more comfortable I got at it. And now I get up on stage in front of hundreds and hundreds of people and talk about my story and my path to healing. So the more I put myself out there, the more comfortable I got. And same with the politicians. The more I met with mayors of big cities and different political offices, the more comfortable I got. So for me, building my confidence in my career has been more about putting myself in very uncomfortable situations and making myself do it over and over and over again, taking risks and practicing. And, I always say practice makes better. Practice doesn't make perfect, because you're never going to be perfect. Practice makes better. And so I practice and I practice, and even today I still practice to make sure that I'm on cue and that I get all my thoughts across the way I want them to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And absolutely, the more that you do this, okay, so me, myself, as a new author and a speaker, and especially when we were in Naples, Florida, that was the biggest thing I've ever done. But I want to take a step back for a second. I don't know that I shared this, but in high school, see, I was in several plays. I was in drama club.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah, in front of the whole school, in front of a lot of people, probably
Mhm,
hundreds of people. But
mhm.
but I didn't feel like it was me because I was stepping in. I was being somebody
Oh,
else,
got
right?
it. Right, right.
So it didn't really bother me. But when I had to stand up there on that huge stage with you, or not with you, but on the same stage, and I was the oh my gosh. I was so nervous that during rehearsal, my mouth like dried up. And it had never happened. But I'm going to tell you, that brought out, like, I stepped out of my complete comfortable
Right,
zone,
right.
and was saying things that I had just uncovered. Like, I had never told anyone that I was in an abusive relationship before. Even
Mm.
my like, my children, you know, and so to do this to them, even practice with them was very uncomfortable. I'm
Right.
like, "Did you even know this?" You know, and they're like, "Well, yeah, mom, we knew." And it wasn't their father. I'm not saying that, you know. So like, yeah, we knew. And but I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I mean, wow. It was really very healing for me as well. And I just to be in the same place as you was oh my god. I'm gonna tell you, I just was so overwhelmed, but also you made me feel so comfortable.
Good. Well, I thought you did great. I mean, and that's exactly what you have to do. If you have low confidence in, it could be public speaking, it could be playing a sport or, swimming. It could be, a lot of people have social awkwardness, and so they have a hard time
Mhm.
going to a function. And that was another component of my job that I did not like for a long time, was going to fundraisers, going to big association meetings and having to, try to sell my company or our services, or at least, put them out there. I hated that for a long time. And I just kept doing it. And I kept doing it until, now I'm very, very comfortable in that environment. And that's what you did. You took a risk, you put yourself out there, you did great. Your story is incredible. And you should be proud of yourself. And look at you now. You have your own podcast. That's amazing.
Right? Thank you. Thank you so much. I am. I'm actually so proud of this podcast because I've done most of this on my own, and technology is really not my forte. So, but I stuck with it and I did the research and did the work. And I'm telling anybody out there, as it's like you can do it. Anybody can do this. If I can, you can. I do not have any college education whatsoever. And
College is overrated.
yeah, and very expensive. So, yes, exactly. It was, hitting rock bottom that led me here to where
Yeah,
I am today. And, sometimes we are kind of grateful for those things that woke us up, the times in our lives, right?
100%, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you. I think you've done an incredible job with your podcasting and all you're doing for your book and for your daughter. I know she's
Yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. So, thank you so much. Yes, she has come a long, long way. We have some amazing things coming up here that I can't wait to share with you guys. But
Oh,
I
nice.
think so much of that was just being able to stand beside you. And I really appreciate that. And so, and I see you, there's something on your hand that I want people
Oh,
so here
can you
I
see
have
it?
a picture of this too. I can oh, what's it say? Lucky?
Yeah. I had shoulder
Oh,
surgery, so it's hard for me to pick up
oh,
my hand,
here. Wait,
my
let me
arm,
get a
but can you
picture.
see it?
Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's not just that's like a tattoo or something, right?
It's a tattoo. It's a tattoo. And I've had it. It was, again, there's some part of my healing process. There were so many things that I did, so many modalities that I tried to heal. I spent a lot of time in Sedona, uh, focusing on, with energy healers and trying to move my energy and remove bad energy, and time and again with sound healing and just different modalities of that sort of energistic healing. But and a lot of other, read a lot of books and classes and you name it.
Okay.
But one of the things I did was I needed a daily reminder that I'm lucky to be alive. My book, my story, my life is crazy. I mean, it's crazy. The three editors that worked on this book, Heather, Kat, and Boris, one of them, I don't know if it was Kat, one of them texted April and said, "Is this fiction? Is this book fiction?" It sounds like it's fiction. So surviving all that I have, um, and trying to find my path to healing, I needed a daily reminder of just how lucky I am to be alive. And I didn't want, a post-it note on my fridge or a magnet on my fridge or a poster in my office. I needed something. I travel a lot for work, so I needed something that I can carry with me that was small enough, that was just for me, to remind me that I'm lucky to be alive and lucky to be here and lucky to live the life I live, because I live an amazing life. I have created an incredible life for myself. So I decided I would tattoo the word lucky on my palm. And for me, the word lucky, blessed, and fortunate are synonymous, but I didn't want blessed on my hand because I
Mhm.
have left that cult. Uh,
Mm,
and I
mm.
didn't want fortunate, that so lucky it was. And anytime I'm having a tough day, or not feeling good, I look at that tattoo and it reminds me, you're lucky to be here, you're lucky to be alive, you're lucky to live the life you live.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I think everybody's wondering too, does that hurt? Is that very painful to have a tattoo on your palm?
Extremely, extremely. I probably had it redone 8 times, since I've had it. It kept falling out, because you wash your hands, and
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
COVID, you washed your hands even more. So I do have to freshen it up. And I talked to a tattoo artist recently because it's needing a little work. And so we've got some ideas how to maybe, not, I've just been doing the same thing, with the same color ink. And so I think we're going to change it up a little next time. But
Okay.
you have millions of nerves in your hand and it's very painful.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So here's another side note. I believe, how old was I? Like in my 40s, and I got this tattoo on my side. It's actually a rosary.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
So, a couple of things about that. I was at a very bad time in my life, and I got it on my birthday. And my daughter's like, "What are you doing getting a tattoo on your birthday?" And it was like, I don't know. She's like, "You want to inflict pain on yourself on your
it.
birthday."
Right,
Like,
right.
that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Hoping the rosary will help. But
Uh,
see, I grew up in the Catholic Church.
mhm.
And so but I don't attend Catholic church anymore. It's just not for me, you
Right.
know? And I believe in God. I'm a Christian and all of those things, but I have my own beliefs. And as just within really the past few years have been able to step into that. But I also want to help the youth. And so what can we do to help, our youth to be able to like step into their higher self at a younger age and not fumble around
Well,
like I did.
right. And me, same thing for decades, decades. I think, uh, the teenagers and the young people of today, particularly, well, even grade school, if you're in school, junior high, high school, grade school, there's so much bullying that happens. And it breaks my heart. Like, I don't remember growing up with a lot of bullying from kids. We were friends, we played outside all the time, we had a good time. There wasn't all of this comparing ourselves to other people and getting bullied. I mean, I got a little bullied for my size, but nothing compared to what the kids today go through. So I mean, my advice would be, don't compare yourself to other people. And this is not just for kids, this is for adults as well. Don't compare yourself to other people. You're your own self. And I always like to say, my experiences do not define me, I define me. And that's how I have lived my whole life and have been able to move out of trauma, like pure trauma after trauma after trauma, and just continued to focus on building my career and becoming successful. So don't compare yourself to other people. You should identify your strengths and your areas for opportunity. So, for example, when I played sports, I wasn't good at every sport. I was good at some sports, but I still continue to play them all. But I found that I was very physically strong and very physically fast, and I could jump really high. And so, believe it or not, as short as I am, I was always the jumper for basketball, and we were state champs like 4 years in a row. So I found my strengths and I put them to practice. So identify your strengths and your areas for opportunity to use those strengths. I think also you have to be open to change. Um, Obviously, if you're if you're afraid of social events or public speaking or, whatever your fear is, in order to overcome it and become your own person, you have to be open to change, but you have to
Mhm.
be realistic and not too hard on yourself. Um, and again, practice, 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 practice makes better. You don't have to be perfect, but you should stay positive. Always, always cup half full, not cup half empty. But also surround yourself with people that believe in you, your cheerleading squad. Surround yourself with people that will support you in a positive manner, and cut yourself off from any toxic or negative situations. End that right away. That just drags you down. You can find a mentor. You asked me about a mentor. I never had a mentor, but I do mentor ladies in my industry, young ladies in my industry, and I think mentoring is important. So find a mentor if you're looking to grow and do and learn. Um, and most importantly, take risks. Put yourself out there. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. That's a great way to grow. And you will. If you just keep doing it over and over, you will build confidence to be able to grow. And then lastly, make sure you're celebrating all your wins, whether they're small wins or big wins. Celebrate those wins. So important. Be good to
Right?
yourself.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So perfect. And because really, as we've, working on personal growth and everything else here, and I mentor others as well because we've seen where we were and where we are now. And so we want others, like I don't want others to struggle as much as I
Yeah.
did for so long. But I want young female especially to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Listen, you guys, okay. Yes. Okay. I'm 55, but growing up, and I would say getting close to graduating high school. So I was in high school. There wasn't a lot of talk about college. And
Right.
I remember my mom saying to me one day, and she taught us what she knew. And so things were different back 55 years ago, but she was like, "Go find yourself a good man."
Right. Yep. My mom did the same thing. She prepped all three of us girls for marriage. She taught us how to wear makeup, made us get perms. We had to wear certain outfits to school. Once we went to Christian school, it was dresses every day. But even when we were going to public school, we had to wear dresses a couple of times a week to school. Like nobody wore dresses to school back in public school. She taught us to cook. We had to clean the house every week. Like we were being domesticated and we were being taught to become wives and barefoot and pregnant. And I was not having any of that. That was not in my master plan of my life.
When did you know that?
I always knew that I had to get out of Oklahoma, and I always wanted to live in New York City and in LA. I'd never been, but those were my dream. Before when we could watch TV before the cult started, New York and LA, those were the big cities. So I always knew I wanted to leave Oklahoma, and I was always a hard worker. I mean, I started hustling at 10 years old, having garage sales, shoveling snow, cleaning dog kennels, helping clean house. I had a teacher that lived across the street from us. I would help her grade papers, anything for money. And I got that drive from my father. He's very much like that, and he's very successful. And so I
Mm.
had that drive that I started at 10 years old. And then at 12, I started working in my stepfather's grocery store. And I did everything in that grocery store except for the butcher part of the grocery store. And I hustled all through junior high and high school. And then in high school, I even took another job at a Christian bookstore in the mall. So I did both jobs and went to school. And I was just saving money. I wanted to be financially independent and have nice things. And so I always knew that I would have a career. That was hands down, that was what I wanted to do. And I just had no desire to get married and have children and have a family. I wanted to focus on a career. I wanted to climb a corporate ladder as high as I could. I wanted to make as much money as I could so that I never had to rely on anyone. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that didn't hit me till after my divorce. My independence.
Oh,
And
right,
then it was now I'm like, watch out because
right.
I not just that, I love it and I enjoy everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing all of that too. I mean,
And don't get
that's
me
so
wrong,
good.
I'm not judging
Yeah.
women who are housewives
Yeah.
and stay at home. We all have our own paths. We all create our own paths. So I'm not judging that at all. I have many friends that are housewives and they're very happy and good for them. You know, it works for that couple, so that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I worked very part-time,
Hmm.
but I did. And I'm so glad that I got to do that
Yeah.
for my family. And it worked out. Okay. And so I don't change anything in the past. I know I what do we say about the past? I mean, it made me who I am today, right?
Yep. And you can't live in regret.
No, no, not at
You only can
all.
move forward.
I think we should like hang out more because
Yes,
I think
let's
we have a
do
lot
it.
more in common. I was okay, so when we went through this whole process, I want everyone to know like I was so afraid of you guys.
Oh, of the other authors?
Yeah, because you were all professional
Oh gosh.
and you know, college education, and here I am like, what am I doing?
No, no, no. I know you can't think like that. Like I said,
For a little bit.
college
I
can
did.
be overrated. But just to let everybody know what we're talking about, we did our book launches in Naples, Florida, and our publisher does this booked Naples every year where she rents out an auditorium and invites six of her authors to come tell their story on stage. And there's hundreds of people there, and so six of us authors, including Roberta and myself, all flew into Naples and prepped for several days and then got up on stage and introduced ourselves and told them our stories. It was an incredible opportunity.
It was. And somebody asked me later, they're like, how many people were there? And I go, I don't know, maybe 50.
It was a lot more than 50.
I know, Kendra, I didn't see him. And one of you
Well, it
guys
was
said,
hard to see. The lights were so bright.
thank goodness, right? They're like, no, I think there were like a couple hundred people there. And I go,
Right.
oh.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
was like, no
it was a
way.
great opportunity. Kudos to April for doing that.
I know, absolutely. But oh, so we had to prep. We were for months, didn't we? We met for like
Right. You're
a
right.
long time.
Yep.
And on these meetings, I'm like, oh, my gosh.
And they were critiquing our speech.
Yeah. I thought, how am I going to make it through this? I
Uh,
don't know.
yeah, but you stuck with it. You should be so proud of yourself
I
because you hung in
did.
and you stuck with it and you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation so that you could grow. You did
Exactly.
it, and you
I
did
knew
it.
it. I knew I had to do it. I knew I could do it. And so it made it through that. And I am proud of myself. That night, I remember the evening after I was telling you it was exhausting. Look, that takes everything out of you, huh?
It does, it does. But I had a lot of family and friends that came into town for it, so we all went out to dinner afterwards. There's probably 13 or 15 people that came in to Naples for it that were my friends or
Um,
family. So that was wonderful to have them there and to have their support. All my cousins and a bunch of friends. So it was really awesome. So we went out to dinner after that and celebrated.
That's so awesome. That was
And you
so
went to sleep.
well, do you know? So I had my son was there.
That's right. I
He's
remember.
he's the only one that I had. My daughter couldn't make it. And so it was just it is what it is. And I'm so happy that my son was there to
Yeah.
support me because
Yep.
if he wasn't there, Kendra, I don't know what had happened.
We would have made you get on stage.
Yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
walked you up there myself. And
Where is she? Aw. So today, so where are you today in your life and what do you want?
hmm, that's a good question. Um,
I
I've
Put you on
probably
the
got,
spot there.
yeah, I've probably got a dozen more years before I even start thinking about retirement. So,
Mhm.
I want to continue to work in a rewarding job, a rewarding career. I still have some energy to continue to climb the ladder. So I want to continue to be successful. But I really, this has become my passion. My book, I'll hold it up real quick.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Um, my book has
Okay,
become,
hold
well, my
on.
story, sharing my story and my path to
Here,
healing has become my passion.
pull
Can you
that
see?
back up so I can get a picture. Nope, do it again. There we go. Okay. Thank you.
And so I really I want to continue
Yes.
this. I've gotten such incredible feedback from people and such good support that my path to healing and the things I share in the book and the things I share on stage or on radio and TV, the things that I share about my path to healing, people have told me they've put those tools in place and it's helped them heal. So, I mean, that's the best feedback you can get. That's just incredible. So I want to continue that path and expand on it, because there's so many more things that I did to focus on my healing than
Yeah.
what's in the book. And so some sort of an expansion, but I do talk about it on stage and expand on it. So that's just been so rewarding. So I definitely want to continue that. And then also I had a meeting right before you and I got on this podcast with a woman, and just talking about my career aspirations. And I told her, I said, I'm at the point in my life where I want to do something that's giving back, whether I run a nonprofit or um, work as a leader, leading a team that contributes to a community or to a group of people, or disaster relief. Like, I'm ready for that kind of a change in my career to give back. So it might be hard to switch careers, but I would definitely like to find something where I'm being more impactful to the world.
Oh, I'm sure that all of that is coming right toward you right now as you speak. And thank you for sharing. And thank you for just everything that you do. You're such an
Oh,
inspiration, like I
thank you.
said. And
As are
I
you.
really
As are you.
appreciate you. And I'm going to say it right here. I am so sorry that I did not purchase your book that day when we were in Naples. But I'm telling you guys, I was not living in the present moment at that time. Okay.
Oh, it was a
I was
stressful time. That it was
really
a
a
stressful
hot mess.
time. Yeah.
So I'm going to get a signed copy from you. Let me tell you. And
Awesome.
is that
Awesome.
what, can everybody get your book from Amazon? And do you have any book signings coming up?
I don't have any book signings. I don't really set up book signings. For me, like doing a podcast where I can reach, a couple of thousand people or 100 people or whatever is more rewarding, and I can touch more people than a book signing at a Barnes and Noble where
Mhm.
there may be 20 people. So not that I won't ever do it, I just haven't really focused on that. But you can get my book from any book retailer. Uh, Barnes and Nobles, you can Amazon. You can also order it from my website, which is kendrapettyofficial.com. If you want a signed copy, you just go to my website, kendrapettyofficial.com. Or if you want to hire me as a public speaker, as a motivational speaker, there's an icon for that on my website to read a little bit more about what I do.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. And we'll have all of that in so they can take a look at too, in the comments and everything. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Roberta. I'm so glad we got to catch up some.
Me too. It's been so good. Yes, let's not be another year and a half till we
Yes,
speak again, please.
yes, for sure,
Okay.
for sure. Thank you so much
So
for having me. I'm so grateful.
I'm grateful for you. Thank you. It's been such an honor to have met you and spend time with you and to feature you on my podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And everyone, hey, reach out to us if we can help you, and make sure you go get Kendra's book because I'm going to tell you what, it's changing lives. So thank you again. And like my grandma used to say, she didn't say goodbye, but instead of goodbye, see you
See
later.
you later.